next up we have Kriemhild Rider. This is going to be our 4-star for the very first banner on JP. And this one comes out of left field a little bit because while we knew Kriemhild was confirmed for a while now, we did not expect how this was going to transpire. So again, she has been likened to Sharknado and Baby Shark and everything due to the second ascension, where she is basically the shark rider who is sending out her shark knights against her foes. And she even has Sharkfried show up in one of her animations. So I don't think anyone was prepared for this. This may have been the crazy Noble Phantasm that Nasu was referring to and saying, please don't use this on the final boss. And now I kind of want to see it just because of that. But who knows? That crazy Noble Phantasm may still be from Banner 2 or Banner 3. We'll have to see. So interestingly enough, Kriemhild is coming to us as a single target Buster Rider. And that is kind of rare at this point. We have not gotten a whole lot of low star single target riders over the years. And even the ones that we do, they have all stood up very well. So Kriemhild coming in now when we already have, say, a welfare single target rider is an interesting thing. And it makes me really wonder what the devs' plan is for her. So let's kind of see. Let's go through her kit. Let's talk about her. Kriemhild starts out with 9k attack and 11k HP. Not bad in either of those stats. Maybe you'll want to see the HP bump up a little bit, but it is what it is. She is Earth attribute. She has 204 star absorption, which is because she is a rider. So she just has the naturally highest in the game, but she's even above her own class average in that regard. There's 9.1 star generation, only 0.48 NP charge rate, and that's actually irregular for a Buster unit. Usually we see higher NP gain rates for a Buster unit, though to be fair, we'll talk about her deck here in a minute. There's a 3% NP charge rate, a 35% death rate, which is over average, and a chaotic summer alignment. She is female gendered, and she has the traits of Hominide Servant, Humanoid, Riding, Normal Servant, 7 Night Servant, Summer Mode Servant, and Weak to Enema Elish. Now, with regards to her deck, and this maybe explains some of the NP gain rate issue there, she actually has very good hit counts on everything, with only the extra, the Buster attack, having normal hit counts. Everything else is above average. But she does have 2 Buster, 2 Arts cards for her deck here with a singular quick. So I think it's the inclusion of that second Arts card that is maybe why they're holding the NP gain rate back a little bit. Because, you know, I think in a lot of other cases, we would have maybe expected to see, I don't know, a second quick card or maybe a third Buster card. They give her the 2 there, and that's going to help out NP gain options with card output. Moving on to her skills, her first one here is Dignity of a Court Lady EX. This is basically a Buster and Arts-based steroid. For 3 turns each, only up to 20%, so it's not insanely good in terms of steroid quality, but it is at least a decent thing that's going to cover most of her deck output. Now, she does have NP gain rate here by an additional 20% for 3 turns, and that will also help deal with that naturally low sort of NP charge attack rate. On top of that, she gets solid defense here by having 2 attacks, 3 turns, invincibility, all of this on a 6-turn cooldown, so we can potentially double this sort of thing up in a Coin Sky setup. Her second skill is Charisma of Shark, and this one's going to increase the party's attack for 3 turns, increases the critical damage of allies with chaotic alignment for 3 turns, and gains critical stars every turn for 3 turns on top of just an upfront star bomb. So The attack up can go up to 20%. The chaotic crit damage is 50%, and that would include herself since she herself is chaotically aligned. Also 15 stars per turn and 15 stars up front. So definitely a nice, just sort of all-rounder type of skill there. And then we get to her third skill, which is a skill that you can use to remove all enemies' buffs. And that is definitely nice. It's not just a single target removal, and it is everything. So as long as the buff does not have the white border around it, making it a fight-specific gimmick, this can remove the buff, which is really, really good in certain circumstances. This is good for removing defensive things that could stop you from dealing damage, or even restorative things like guts that might prevent you from outright killing. So this could be really, really useful to you, as well as, you know, maybe getting rid of pesky stuff like Invuln Pierce that might otherwise get in the way. From here, we get to charge her own gauge by 30%, and this is on a 6-turn cooldown, so again, you can double this up with Koyanskaya. We can also increase the NP damage of allies with chaotic alignment for 3 turns. That is also useful for her, so boom, there you go. This is another steroid on top of the steroid coming off her first skill and second skill. So you can see she basically has all 3 types of buffs. She has an NP damage buff, an attack buff, and a card type buff. So this will provide very synergistic damage boosts for her, but the biggest one is actually going to be that chaotic NP damage that someone like Oberon could boost, giving her a little bit of extra firepower. For her passive skills, she has Magic Resistance B for some additional debuff resistance, and Writing EX in order to give her additional quick performance to that 5-hit quick card that she does have. So even though she only has the 1 quick card, that quick card performance should actually be quite nice. From there, with regards to her pin skills, mana loading, again, gonna be the recommendation. This is a buster unit with 30% charge. It's almost a requirement if you want to try to like 3-turn with the unit. But even if you're not, just having that synergy there with the 30% means that you might be able to start out with a 50% CE and just kind of have her go under her own power without like charge from a support. So it's really a good thing to have for multiple situations. With regards to her third skill, it is anti-saber attack damage aptitude. There could be some synergy here, but I don't really recommend this. Again, it is a rider, and it's probably not worth your coins long term. The additional critical damage from the 4 skill and the skill reloading, reducing cooldowns, might be better picks, as well as the extra attack finesse for her. But I'll leave those choices up to you. A lot of her skills are 6 turns, so realistically speaking, only go for the 5th append if you want to be able to get to the steroids faster in order to be able to have them back by, say, like something like turn 2 or something like that. Now, with regards to Sharkhild's Noble Phantasm, we have a whole litany of debuffs. It is a 12-hit single target buster NP that reduces enemy debuff resistance by 10%, enemy attack chance by 10%, enemy defense by 10%, quick arts and buster resistance by 10%, critical damage by 10%, critical attack chance by 10%, and still inflicts poison, curse, and burn for 200 damage for 3 turns to the enemy, as well as gaining her 5 crit stars. All of this, though, happens after damage. So unless you are Noble Phantasming again and again against a unit, or you're carding after the NP, this is not that big of a deal. It certainly could add up with multiple Noble Phantasms, but realistically speaking, everything here is basically 10%, so it just is what it is. Also, due to the fact of it happening after the Noble Phantasm, if you were trying to use something like, say, Honey Lake or something, the burn effect that would happen is going to happen after the NP, so you would need something else to apply burn before the NP to get the special power modifier on her. Interestingly enough, though, it doesn't stop here. She gets an overcharge effect that, just like Huion Zhou, basically is a super effective attack against lawful alignment enemies, and there are plenty of them for her to pick on. So this is a really, really nice niche for her to have, especially due to that super effective modifier. It's going to make her hit very hard. And this is something that will scale with your overcharge should you manage to get more. So with regards to that, what does that mean for Kriemhild? Well, if you wanted to 3-turn with her, you're going to be looking at using something like cranking. But if you want to just pure one-shot damage, you're going to be looking at things like Black Grail, or again, maybe Honey Lake, something where you can actually just amplify the damage for just a one-off Noble Phantasm. To me, it really just depends on the node and what you're trying to do. And there are various other things that you can worry about, but I wouldn't bother with things necessarily like Invuln Pierce, just due to the simple fact of her being able to remove buffs. Though there are scenarios where something like that may be useful if you can't remove the buff that you're facing due to a fight-specific gimmick. Taking a look at Kriemhild Rider's actual output here, on screen you guys can see she has her self-buff only raw numbers. Not looking too hot here, but admittedly this is just NP1. Unlike with like something like a welfare, you're not guaranteed the 5 copies unless you actually roll for them. So you can see she's coming in at about 39k here raw, which is again neutral output. We're not looking at like it being an effective class that she's up against, and there are no supports coming in to help her out. You can see from there the Lawful Niche practically doubles output at almost 60k damage. You're at 59k there. And if you do get her all the way up to NP5, 65k would be your just normal damage, which is even higher than the super effective at NP1. And then 98k would be how much you'd be getting out of the Lawful Niche at that point. Now, in terms of one-shot damage with a Black Grail, Double Koyanskaya Oberon might be the best scenario here, that you could mix in somebody like a Waver if you manage to have somebody that is lawful that you're up against and you want the additional overcharge. But for the purposes of this and demonstrative purposes, we just went ahead and said, hey, this is a comp we're going to run. And you guys can see the damage output is not to be denied. These are still neutral numbers, but they are at least going to include things like the Mystic Code, the Craft Essence, and now the support units amplifying that damage output. And you can see just how much damage there is there. Now, not too prevalent for a lot of single target units, but if you did manage to get them into a 3-turn scenario, how good could you do something like that? Well, in Kriemhild's case, basically, Double Koyanskaya Oberon with a level 100 cranking and probably your mana loading is going to be the solution here. That would allow her to 3-turn. And you can see NP1 on wave 1 and wave 2, damage output not looking too hot. By wave 3, we get a pretty absurd spike, and this is due to the synergy of all the NP damage ups from not only your Mystic Code, your Craft Essence that we're using, and Oberon himself, but also from Kriemhild herself having an additional 30% in her kit. So that's why you get such a big damage spike there for wave 3. With regards to Lawful Niche, again, this is super effective. So these numbers basically are just going to increase by a good 50% here now. As you can see, wave 1 and wave 2, we're looking at about 149k and 522k by wave 3. And then at MP5, these numbers just scale up even more. And in the Lawful Niche, you have the capability of potentially hitting up to 1 million neutral damage there. Pretty absurd numbers, pretty nice for her. So the question is, do I need Kriemhild? And some of you may say yes, just due to her design. But how does she stack up against a welfare? Somebody that is very similar to her. Somebody that is a single target Buster Rider with 30% charge. And that's Cinderella. So Cinderella can also do a whole lot here. She is guaranteed NP5. And you can see basically neutral numbers. She does have the Wild Beast niche at about 54k and 82k respectively. And then one-shot damage 592 versus 674 for Wild Beast. And then in a 3-turn, we're looking at maybe better numbers than Kriemhild on waves 1 and 2. but only 552k by wave 3, which comparison is a pretty similar deal here for her in her lawful niche at NP1. But if we have NP5, basically pound for pound here, Kriemhild will win. And that's where this starts to get interesting, is how many copies of Kriemhild do you want to roll? In order for her to be kind of either on par, maybe a little bit better than Cinderella, you're looking at an NP3 or an NP4 probably. So that's where this sort of thing would matter. But ultimately, end of the day, if you like Kriemhild, just go ahead and get her and use her. Again, the design is absolutely fantastic, and there are many great Ascension forms for her just in general. So let me know which Ascension form you guys think is best for her. And will you see yourself using her? Is she your go-to single target rider from now on? Or are you maybe just going to work her in at times because you really like her? I'll be curious to hear you guys' thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more unit analysis videos. And I'll see you guys for the next one. Later. Also, where is this Ascension? Like, this is where I have the opinion that, like, we get robbed. Like, it's literally this Ascension, just she doesn't have the shark outfit on. That is what stage 4 is.